Welcome to this very special episode of the Bedrock Way podcast, where we embark on a reflective journey through the highs and lows of what has been an unforgettable year. And we're going to chronicle the moments of this year, the year that has left an indelible mark on the lives of our patients and really the world around us. And it's a pleasure to have one of my closest colleagues, our Senior Vice President of Operations, Brittany Bruns. Thank you for being my guest on this special edition of the Bedrock Way podcast.
I'm very excited to be here. I love looking back year in review.
One of the things that I enjoy doing is I love living in the moment. I love practicing what we call mindfulness, right? When we get to really appreciate and be grateful for how far we have come. The way society is right now, we look at what we don't have. We look ahead of what is yet to be gained. But as we sit here in December of 2023, we look back on this year, how the year began, what we've gone through. You know, it's important for us to really be reflective, appreciative, but now use the last year as a way to position ourselves and start trending. What are the things that we're going to be seeing in 2024? And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at what to expect in 2024. We're also going to look back and identify as some of the most impactful, times and events that occur for Bedrock in 2023. And then what I want to do is talk about what really has been riveting around the industry as it relates to growing a company from a marketing perspective, and that's the power of storytelling. The power of telling a story through videos, through pictures, and the power of being able to engage an audience in this day and age. And being that is probably going to be something that will explode in 2024. So I really want to talk about that and react to some of the most powerful influencers in the industry. They are talking about this exact same issue, the power of storytelling, whereas that is where our B360 team excels, right? Our media production team, they excel in telling a story, and I'm so excited to be able to be leading from the front in something that is cutting edge right now in every industry. So you ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready.
All right. So let's talk about the top, what we consider to be the 5 top trends. Some of these will apply to every industry, but most of them will apply to healthcare, right? Which is essentially what we specialize. So the first trend for 2024 that we would like our listeners to focus on is the power of storytelling through video and pictures in healthcare, and how for 2024, Brittany, the power of storytelling will not be an option, but a necessity for any healthcare organization. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We're seeing it already. Visual content has already proven to be more highly engaging and effective in conveying many things, but complex information can be a lot easier told through the video storytelling aspect.
And in healthcare, there's something that storytelling does, Brittany. It allows for medical stories to be humanized. And when people are able to listen to a story, and the story is humanized through the power of storytelling, it makes it more relatable for the general audience. And it allows them to understand a subject matter in healthcare that tends to be complex, and they're able to understand them much easier.
It also allows us to align different trends with the growing importance of things like patient education, patient empowerment, as everybody seeks to better understand their healthcare conditions and their treatment options right now.
Absolutely. So as we look at the second trend that we're looking to really dictate 2024, that is really the explosion of what I call telehealth and remote care. We saw that coming up, right? Being very prevalent during the pandemic and in the years that have followed. But we are predicting right now on the Bedrock Way podcast that telehealth and remote care is not only here to stay, but is here to grow. What do you think about that?
Definitely is. I mean, even as of the end of the pandemic, COVID-19, this alone has accelerated the adoption of different technology tools such as telehealth. And it's really expected to continue throughout the trajectory of 2024.
Absolutely. I mean, telehealth offers accessibility to medical services. It offers the ability for us to see patients in remote areas, in areas where patient care is underserved. So what telehealth did for us during the pandemic, it educated us and it enlightened us that we can get to the patient when the patient can't get to us. And Brittany, one of the biggest obstacles for patient care is transportation. So telehealth and remote care allows technology to shine because it allows us to give patients the care when they historically haven't been able to obtain it.
Yeah, it's very convenient. And with the accessibility of these virtual consultations, it actually increases a patient's compliance, which ultimately generates better outcomes for them in the end.
What a beautiful thing. A process that allows medical adherence to improve. Number 3, the prevalence of personalized medicine. This is an area, Brittany, that I'm super, super excited about because it's very much underappreciated, but we're going to see this really, really expand in 2024 and beyond. What do you think about personalized medicine and the prevalence of it in 2024?
Well, I think the advancement of a term such as genomics is an important thing to break down. So what is genomics? It's really an individual's genetic makeup. And from understanding what this person is going to respond to, if they're going to have adverse side effects or reactions to something like a new medication, something like genomics allows practitioners and groups to be able to better identify personalized care options specific to what that person can handle physiologically.
Well, the thing is, the ability to customize medical treatments to an individual's genetic makeup. Think about that. Something that we don't really talk about. When you're able to specialize medical care to specific biomarkers in the person's physiology, it allows not only for compliance, not only the ability for efficacy to improve, but the ability for us to reduce potential side effects, which is essentially what personalized medicine is all about. Better care, better outcomes, and minimizing the side effects.
Yeah, and really this understanding is universal enough that this personalized medicine idea is definitely likely to become a standard approach in healthcare, one that we want to definitely get on the front end of.
Yeah, because I think as our understanding of genetics and molecular biology improves, personalized healthcare being mandated and dictated by genomics and biomarker research will become the standard in healthcare. And I think that the fourth trend that we are looking for 2024 is the focus on mental health and well-being. Brittany, this is something that I think has been underserved for many, many years.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that we also have to think about is the fact that while mental health issues are still occurring, if not becoming more prevalent, there are already services out there in promoting mental health well-being. That we really just want to make sure we're adjusting to the adherence of that. So making it more convenient, more accessibility to mental health care services is going to be something that becomes way more prevalent in 2024 as we try to right this concern.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about access to mental health, we have to talk about lowering the stigma, right? Decreasing the stigma of it, the ability for mostly men, right? Men to understand that it's not weakness to seek help. Also, for our veterans to know that it's not weakness to seek out help. And I really see in 2024, Brittany, when it comes to mental health, for technology to really start stepping up and giving access and help to facilitate mental health. Things like mental health apps, virtual therapy sessions, and other digital solutions that will contribute to people's overall well-being, and mental health being something that's front and center and not just an afterthought. Number 5, so the fifth trend that we see affecting 2024 is the rise of the virtual healthcare assistants. And this is something that's coming up a tremendous amount. Virtual assistants are increasingly being utilized in healthcare. Why? Because the healthcare journey, Brittany, is one of the most complex paths to navigate, especially for people who are non-healthcare trained. What do you think about that?
No, it's absolutely something that we need because of exactly what you said, the complexities within navigating your healthcare journey, but also the complexities within your chronic care management a lot of times we see nowadays. So with the aspect of adding in something like a virtual assistant, they can do anything from schedule appointments to provide additional information to set reminders to take your medication, to adhere to that compliance, and assist in the preventative healthcare services rather than reactionary.
I think artificial intelligence, things like natural language processing, things like machine learning, when we talk about enhancing the capabilities of virtual healthcare assistants, it's basically having tools, valuable tools, that will allow the improvement of patient outcomes and really maximize the experience. You know, when we talk about personal assistants, virtual assistants like Siri, right? We all have them on our Apple iPhones. We can adopt a virtual assistant to allow people not only to navigate healthcare, but also to focus on something that we call preventative health, right? Identifying physiological markers that proactively allow the person to get ahead of their health rather than, unfortunately, let the health get ahead of them. Brittany, as we continue the highs and lows of 2023, I wanted to share with our listeners the things that stick out to us during the past 12 months. We've had so many wins, so many highs, not too many lows. And I think what sticks to us 12 months later is just the incredible triumphs that we've had this year. And I have my list. I have 5 things that stick out in my mind of things that I remember, and I sit back and reflect and say, wow, we've come so far, right? So I want you to share, we'll go back and forth. I'll share one of mine, and I'll tell you why that sticks out in my head, and I want you to share yours. So, ladies first, and we each listed the top 5 things that we sit here today and are very thankful for. So, what is your first moment that you look back in the last 12 months and that you say, that was a momentous event for us here at Bedrock?
Absolutely. This was a really fun experiment to do, just exercise to do, just looking back. And from a broad level standpoint, the number one thing that I noticed when reflecting is that we have followed our mission through and through. We always say we are different, and that's what I pulled out from these top 5 occurrences this past year. The first one being culture. We are a group that really focuses on the employee and knowing that this is it's a home away from home. It's a family away from a family. It's extended family. So I've thoroughly enjoyed every single culture event that we've had, but one that sticks out to me, because I am a sore loser and I will come back next year, but was our kickball tournament. That was probably, and not just because, I mean, it was a Saturday. To see people, come together on a Saturday was amazing. And again, even though our team lost, we will have revenge next year. So we also have, looking forward into 2024, something to look forward to. So, but within this, we had people bring their significant others. We had people bring their children that played together with us in this tournament. I brought my dog, and we got to interact with more than just our work family, but our work family's family. And we got to see what brought them value. And it really just overall brought us closer together. And we've done so many things this past year, just a few to name. We've done axe throwing, we've done karaoke, we've done bowling. And the fun does not stop there. We have many more times to come, but it allows you to know your people more, what drives them, what makes them happy, and to see what they come back and do at work productively after that is just a happy benefit to being able to get to know your colleagues better.
My number one, I think the first thing that I remember from the last 12 months, Brittany, is I know we set out on a mission to change healthcare. You said it. We are different. And the number one thing that I remember is we're going to change the habits of yesterday by creating the new healthcare reality of tomorrow. And we knew that to change the habits, we probably needed to change the curriculum. Mm-hmm. And that was a mission of ours. And we teamed up with all local universities in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, in the tri-state area. And what I remember is going to universities like Monmouth University, mm-hmm. and being able to speak to students, being able to give them real life medical events that they will be experiencing and getting to hear their perspective. Also taking on students. We took on students from their program, to see our ecosystem, to see the level of rigor from a clinical perspective that they get to see here. And that was really memorable to me, to be able to contribute to the next generation, because that will get us one step closer to leaving healthcare better than we entered it.
Just one of many ways we are different. My second is actually a story or a moment that exemplified what we set out to do in making that difference. One of the big pushes for this past year that we had was to reduce rehospitalization rates 30 days after discharge. So what that means overall is, how can we help people where they are and reduce the trauma that is received by our patients when they transfer to location to location. And so that was a big mission for us this past year. And I've got to witness our difference making in work, our mission in action. So we partner with a number of communities in the area. And again, our mission is to bring the right health services personalized to that patient so that they can stay home where they're at and continue to have a quality of life and continue to get the care that they need. So I was able to witness our medical group team and our transitional care navigation team work with our patients, work with staff in these communities, and make sure that we exhausted all options before we had to maybe send them to a hospital, maybe disrupt them from their home to go to a different location. So there's been multiple times this year that I have seen our team in action prevent those rehospitalizations, exactly what we had set out to do. So that was really rewarding for me this past year, is just seeing our mission in action.
Have you been looking at my list? Because that's exactly what I have, Brittany. I have the pride that I have behind the return to hospitalization rate that we have as a practice. And on average, this year we have averaged as low as 2.1% in some of the facilities that we're in, some of our partnerships, to as high as 9%. So think about it. We've maintained in a fast-growing pace multi-specialty medical practice, we've been able to maintain our rehospitalization rates less than 10%, in single digits. That is something that is paramount, one of the major highlights of 2023 for me.
No, I haven't been looking at your list, but maybe you might have the next exciting moment from my list on yours, which was the launch, and you had mentioned it earlier today, was our B360 team, our media production team. We know the power of storytelling. I mean, we're definitely pushing that mission throughout this past year and into 2024. And we know to humanize the patient care experience, we are going to need to tell that story. So we got together some of the brightest minds from media production, video, social, anything that you would want to be able to put that platform on, that voice to tell your story. We brought the greatest minds together and we combined them into our own social media and production group, which is B360. And they have helped us tell our healthcare story, but it always extends beyond that. So what I'm witnessing as well from our production team is the fact that any story can be told, and it does touch the consumer in a different way. So that was a huge plus, I think, for this past year, is launching that idea and being able to not only tell our story and the story of our patients, but to be able to tell multiple stories. And that was a revelation for us this year.
I strongly believe that with B360, by us having our own media production team, that we are going to tell the best story that healthcare has ever told. I genuinely believe that. All right, my third highlight of 2023 is when we had our 2,000 unit party with our patient care therapy group at our corporate office in Edison. And our audience doesn't understand what a 2,000 unit party might be. That is a term related to productivity. But for what I remember, Brittany, is it was fully attended by our entire therapy team. It was on the anniversary of the first year of our therapy team. But what I loved was how everyone was so unbelievably pumped and jazzed about not only how far we had come from 1 year, but how much growth there was there to have. And again, I love that day. And it was the other reason I remember that day, it was your birthday.
It was.
And it so happened that we celebrated the success of one of our service lines, but also the success and the birthday of one of our most valuable assets in use. So that's a memorable day for me.
It also is for me. I was going to write that on my list, but I didn't because I just lumped the culture all together. But that was also a memorable moment. An easier way to think of that is we had just started the patient care therapy group in July of 2022. So to go from literally 0 to 2,000 units in 1 year was a really big milestone for the team. So it was a celebration of many sorts. That was a really good highlight. Not actually on my list. Another leading moment for me last week. So our practice is primarily, it's very heavy in New Jersey. We've got a lot, top to bottom of the state, we've got a lot of service offerings here. However, our goal has been to go national, has been to expand. And we got to open that first state as of this year, which was Nevada. So we are bringing our service lines to our other states that we operate from a home care perspective in. We're bringing the ecosystem to them. And the first hire that we had is a lead therapist in our Nevada region. So the first start of multiple ecosystem services in another region, and the hire of a new family member for us who is he embodies what patient care therapy group is and what Bedrock's mission is. So that not only was it an incredible addition to our family, a great hire, but exciting to know that our mission is actively expanding across the nation.
And that team in Nevada is going to be one team, to watch, because they have every single thing it takes to be incredible. So I'm actually nervous about Nevada possibly overtaking New Jersey,
Yep.
But nothing will make me happier than that. For me, the fourth highlight is definitely a dream come true in 2023. And that was really the launch of our podcast. The Bedrock Way podcast has, and just the podcast in general, Brittany, that has been a dream for me for many, many years. And luckily we brought in a very talented producer in Jonathan Gonzalez who allowed me to realize my dream. And we're now closing on 20 episodes where we've had some of the most influential people in medicine, in healthcare, in every types of business lines. And we sit here direct to our goal, which was to do 100 episodes, and when we first started the podcast, I thought 100 episodes was a dream, and at the beginning I thought it was a nightmare because again, it's a very difficult thing to do, which is to do a podcast, to edit and do everything that has to do. And now I'm super excited about it. I think 100 episodes is right there in our sights, and it's something that we're using. The podcast is a platform that we're using to grow the again, that storytelling of what we do and what we do that is so unique. So I'm super pumped about the podcast. And it's something, I know you were my, I think, third or fourth guest on the podcast. And we're every single week, we're getting more engagement and more views, and we are loving it. It's so much work, Brittany, but it's so rewarding. And I couldn't list my top 5 highlights of 2023 without listing the podcast.
No, I love that. That's a great addition because our goal with the podcast was to give a voice back to healthcare, back to the practitioners, and we didn't even realize it was setting ourselves up for that ultimate storytelling that's trending for 2024. So honestly, it was just the tip of the iceberg. We're ready to hit the rest of that bad boy, and we're coming in hot with B360. So we're going to have a lot more hands on deck to be able to really give that voice and that story to healthcare.
What is your 5th one?
My 5th one is my best one. I saved the best for last. So earlier this year, our mission had grabbed the attention of some higher names in the healthcare business specifically. And it was an honor to host Dr. Mehmet Oz in our office to show him what we are trying to do to disrupt the stagnant healthcare system that we use right now. So not only was it a goal of mine to be able to communicate with such great minds in healthcare and in medicine, such as Dr. Oz, but to also know that our mission is that important that people are going to listen. And that was early in 2023. And so it really revved me up to say, hey, I mean, this is a serious cause. This is a serious issue that needs disrupting. And we are already catching the ear and attention of people that can help platform that to the national level. So it was just an honor to know that we had something that special to catch the attention of somebody at that level.
I remember that day like it was yesterday.
It was your 7-year anniversary?
It was it's exactly what I was going to say. You read my mind. It was my 7-year anniversary with the organization. I remember you and I had an opportunity that night to kind of just look back and be like, wow, wow, what an incredible moment. What an incredible, just crossroad for us. And it was, I think, what legitimized what we were doing. When we had such an influential mind in this seat, actually, basically look at what we were doing and say, wow, you guys are onto something different. And I think that really opened the floodgates, and it gave us that credibility that, my goodness, our path is one that is not just of a business, but it's a movement. And I think when we say we are a practice, we are more than a revolution. We are a movement that is changing healthcare forever. So I love that you included that, because that was a very, very, very special time in the last 12 months. And last but not least, Brittany, I would be remiss if I didn't thank everyone for the opportunity this past year I was promoted about a month ago or so to President and Chief Operating Officer of Bedrock Healthcare at Home. An honor, and one that, again, everybody says well-deserved, is earned. I really feel privileged to have the opportunity to lead such a strong team, and to have had the opportunity the last couple of years, you and I, to really, piece by piece, brick by brick, to build, for all intents and purposes, what is Bedrock, right? From the team, from the practice, to the partnerships, to the mission, to the culture, and create such a strong vision that now has gotten national attention. For us, a year ago, thinking about growing Nevada was almost, that was almost comical. And now it has become like, where are we going next? People used to look at us and say, oh my God, these guys are out of their minds. Now they're saying, what are these guys going to do next? And I'll tell you, in 2024, we can do anything, because anything is possible when you have a good mission and you have great people to accomplish that mission.
And honestly, congratulations. I've not met anybody more deserving. Like, that well-deserved comment has never been more true. So I'm honored to be led by somebody such as yourself. So, and being able to look back on 2023 and knowing that you have been the leader to keep that vision alive for us has led to the ultimate outcomes that we're seeing to wrap up our year.
Awesome. So let's change gears a little bit, Brittany. One thing that I wanted to focus on this episode was on the hottest trend for 2024. And we said it earlier. That the hottest trend for 2024, what we list as the number one trend, is the power of storytelling. And the power specifically of storytelling through visuals, pictures, and videos, and how that maximizes the engagement and really the awareness of a brand. And recently, Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, who is, again, known as Mr. Wonderful and also Maple Man, as many of you guys know, and who was featured, I think, for over a decade on the show Shark Tank. He was one of the most influential and imposing members of the Shark Tank cast. And Kevin O'Leary, since Shark Tank, has become one of the biggest influencers in social media, and someone who really has a very incredible close grip and pulse on the future of any industry. And recently he was chronicled as providing what he feels is the number one degree, the number one academic training that will dictate future success. So let's take a look at this video, and then let's react to the video as Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, details why he feels storytelling will be so important and so powerful in the generation to come.
If 3 years ago, when I was asked this question, what degree gives you the highest chance of success in a career. Number one would have been engineering, number two engineering, number three engineering. And generally it's the graduating cohort of engineers, and about a third of those classes go on to take their ideas, turn them into patents, turn them into businesses. But I've changed my mind in the last 2 years, and I'll tell you why, Evan. Since the pandemic hit, the number one demand I have for my companies are people that can take the concept of the business and tell a story about it. Produce a video, do really rich photography, build out 59-second, 39-second, 29-second videos, 14-second videos to plaster all over social media to sell product direct to customer. So if you're a graduate from the arts, or you're a writer, or you're a photographer, or an editor, or videographer, all of a sudden I'm paying you $150,000. And I would have thought I could have hired you for nothing because you were a starving artist.
Now that we saw the video from Mr. Wonderful, let's expand on what Mr. Wonderful said. And I think for me, the number one thing is that when you are able to show a video or pictures, you're able to evoke emotions. I think for me, the emotional connection to the audience improves because you're almost able to create a connection with the audience, right? Whether it's a brand, a product, or a service, when you are able to connect emotionally with the audience, it fosters a stronger and a more memorable, powerful relationship with that product. So the number one thing that from that video to me is storytelling basically creates an emotional connection to that brand. What do you think?
First thing I thought about was just attention spans and engagement. Everything is becoming very fast-paced, very efficient. You can get any amount of information at the palm of your hands with technology. So people's attention spans and engagement, it's becoming harder to grasp, and attention spans are becoming shorter. So more visual storytelling through those videos and anything that's going to grab and engage a listener or a potential customer. It's going to be easier to retain attention and information because it's told in a way that is going to engage the listener, engage the viewer, so that they can retain that information longer with a shorter story that's told to match the attention span that a lot of us do have.
Yep. And listen, storytelling injects something that is so necessary in any brand, any marketing platform, any campaign, and that it injects and it infuses a story with what's called authenticity and transparency. And consumers are increasingly valuing authenticity and transparency from businesses, right? Because a lot of them feel bait and switched. And storytelling, especially when it involves real people and genuine stories, what does it do to a brand? It creates increased trust and credibility to that brand, which you're going to be more connected and more invested in that brand.
Yeah, that was actually my next point with storytelling is brand differentiation. There's always going to be competitors in your field, so it's important to communicate a unique narrative. And I did mention on the attention span, if you can collaborate all of that together and give yourself a unique narrative, it'll help identify your brand's identity, your values, your purposes, and making something memorable in the midst of all of the consumers in the competition.
You know one thing, Brittany, that storytelling has the power to influence and persuade. You know, I've always said that the stories that have the power to influence and persuade by framing the message in a compelling, relatable way are the ones that consumers are more attracted to. You know, whether you're marketing a product, whether you're presenting data, whether you're conveying a vision, storytelling enhances the communication to always be persuasive. And I think that's how you're able to influence and persuade a customer, a consumer, through storytelling to remember your product.
Yeah, that's a great differentiation there is the remembering of your product and your brand. So is your story memorable? And does it allow for consumers to recall that information quickly and concisely? So by incorporating storytelling into more of a business brand or messaging, it can increase the likelihood that their consumers are going to remember that brand, recall that information, and it's going to build your consumer base.
There's no more powerful way to build that consumer base through storytelling than to really leverage multi-channel marketing. What is multi-channel marketing? It relates to social media. Right now, we can post anything on social media and be shared with the world, right? And that video content, when it's shareable and it quickly reaches a broad audience, it amplifies the narrative that you're trying to relate to the audience.
Well, think about the flip side. We can also, with storytelling, be able to have more relevance to certain demographics, certain cultures. You can actually aim your message to the right culture or to the right group by being able to engage in more storytelling ideas. So people increasingly are trying to find brands that value their beliefs, value their cultures, and it can also help contribute to positive societal or environmental change. So a lot of groups are trying to be more environmentally conscious. So this can also expand and or aim towards demographics that are valuing that same message.
I think with the rise of storytelling, we're also going to see a natural adaptation to commanding the visual communication with our customer. We are in a day and age that we are seeing, Brittany, a rise in what we call visual-centric platform marketing. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, they're attracting customers through the trend of visual storytelling. Short-form videos, visually appealing graphics, and interactive content, really, that's become the staple of effective communication. And no area are we seeing that more through storytelling that in TikTok, you're able to see in a minute. In Instagram, you're able to see in less than 30 seconds. In YouTube micro content, you're able to communicate. And again, that's what the visual communication trend is, that people are absorbing less material more frequently.
Yeah, I like the aspect of visual storytelling because it takes away any verbiage or content, which allows us to reach more global audiences too. So it doesn't have a linguistic or cultural barrier to be able to get your story told, because the image is what provides the words. So it allows more connectivity from a global aspect, which is exciting for companies, because then they can share success stories, they can share their mission, share their message to more than just one continent, which gets very exciting.
And I'll tell you one thing that we cannot forget when we talk about, the power of storytelling is how important it is and how impactful it is in increasing employee associate engagement, employee culture. Why? Because when you're internally telling a story, it's crucial for building a strong organizational culture, structure, but also engaging employees. And when you share success stories, company values, company mission, and you show a company the human side of the workplace, that's the thing. When we show the human side of the workplace, that naturally, Brittany, boosts the morale and the loyalty of a company. So storytelling will be very important, not only in the ability for you to connect and engage and procure new customers, but in the ability for you to maintain your most highly valuable lifeline, which is your human capital.
I think that's a really good point to make, because when you can engage both the employee and the consumer, you're able to make sure that any change that is necessary can happen at both levels. Any growth that's necessary can happen at both levels. So I think at the end of the day, we just have to understand that behaviors change, especially from a consumer level, but also from an employee level. So you do have to keep them engaged on both sides of the coin. But more importantly is consumer behaviors are constantly changing. So we have to make sure that while we're telling our story, that we're also adapting to the changing mindset and behaviors of today's consumer, which is really what we went into detail to expand on Mr. Wonderful's video, is the fact that it's going to forever change. So what we see today is going to be different than what we see a year from now. So as we get into 2024, we're going to listen to the consumer. We're going to expand upon the idea of storytelling and position our mission so that we can attract any audience, and we can also target that same concept.
Listen, I think we can all agree after watching Mr. Wonderful's video is that storytelling through videos and pictures, it's going to become very crucial across every industry in 2024. And I am extremely honored and excited about B360 because Bedrock Media and Production, B360, our company, aligns with the changing consumer preferences. It facilitates emotional connections. It provides a powerful tool for communication, differentiation, and it will influence in a highly competitive and dynamic business landscape the one thing that everyone covets, and that is the engagement of the end user and the consumer. And by us being able to be the agents of change as it relates to storytelling, I think that, again, we are so unbelievably well set for 2024. That video, Brittany, I think is something we're going to look back a year from now and say, wow, we are spot on. We're over the target. And not only that, we are going to become the benchmark, the gold standard, the trendsetters of storytellers. And I'm excited about that for 2024.
Me too.
Thank you so much, Brittany. I'm so happy to have you on the Bedrock Way podcast. Again, this is your second appearance and hopefully not your last. And as we bid farewell to 2023, we carry its lessons, its triumphs, and the memories forward. I'm eagerly anticipating the unwritten chapters that 2024 holds for us all. Thank you for joining us on this insightful journey. And here's to the adventures that await in the year ahead. And remember, we are changing the habits of yesterday by creating the new healthcare reality of tomorrow. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks, Britt.